like and subscribe. Now, what about your job would shock the everyday customer if they knew about it? Serious. A few years back I worked for McKesson as part of the H1N1 vaccine project. As you'll recall, there was much made of the fact that there was a vaccine shortage. In reality, we had a warehouse full of it. We weren't getting anywhere near the amount of orders that the government had anticipated. Everything in the news was simply not true. A kid at my school died from H1N1. He was like one of the only people in his demographic to die from it. Our area didn't get the vaccine until about 2 to 3 weeks after he first went to the hospital. Pretty fed up. I manage a self-serve frozen yogurt shop. The number of times I've caught kids, and sometimes adults, sticking their nasty fingers in the toppings and or licking the spoons and tongs is downright ridiculous. It's not that they are not immediately cleaned out and sanitized, they are, but I'm one person working a pretty big store with a lot of other things going on. The number of times I do catch them makes me afraid of how many times I didn't. TL. Doctor, don't eat the toppings. I work at Orange Leaf and the amount of parents who don't give a ref about their children making a mess and sticking their nasty hands into the topping bar is insane. My manager hates it way more than I do. I was here to say that too. It's especially worse when the adults reach in and grab toppings with their hands. One woman did that once, and I made an inhuman squeak that got her attention and she hasn't done it since. I don't know if this is surprising or not, but I work in it at an automotive assembly plant, and I do almost no work every day. I spend roughly 80% of my day messing around on the internet, 15% of my day helping users with basic PC issues, fixing their issues with printers, email, the internet, etc., and the other 5% solving actual issues on the plant floor. Most days I get paid to just sit on Reddit. I can't tell if I love it or hate it. I work in a potato plant and there are several things that would piss people off. We send out product that we know is bad only to get it back and replace the top 2 layers on a pallet with fresh product. We get product returned, it is then sorted and repackaged, then sent right back. Mysterious fine black dust comes from the vents and accumulates in the storage area. I can't think of any more right now, but it's pretty gross. How many times the wrong house is chosen during an eviction? For every story you hear in the news, there are at least 10 that settle out of court. I seriously don't understand how a bank can screw that up. OMG. I know. It happens all the time. And it's horrible. Sometimes the wrong home gets demolished too. Yep, I've done that too. I'm part of a regression testing team for software. The amount of time I spend browsing Reddit while my automated test cases execute is staggering. What does a regression testing team do? We write automated regression tests in software design. One of the most common kind of bugs is a regression, where a previously fixed bug reappears, previously working feature stops working after a change is made. We take those bug reports and we create automated tests that can recreate the conditions of the bug. Every time a new version of the software is built, we execute those tests to ensure none of the old no bugs have snuck back into the software. The reason I get so much Reddit time is because each test can potentially take 10 to 15 minutes to run. And after making significant changes, I have to run it to make sure I didn't break the test accidentally. XKCD test cases are the new compiling. I work from home. I often wonder what people would think if they knew the person they were speaking to was drunk and naked. As someone that used to work from home doing tech support, can confirm. Pants were not part of the uniform and there was liquor in my coffee. When I was a pizza delivery driver, the number of people strangely comfortable with opening their own door naked would probably surprise most people. I have done door-to-door work for various reasons and it sucks balls, but point hot housewives and towels was always a perk. Be honest, how often does that actually happen? Using a throwaway, I've posted this before on my other account, but deleted my comments. I worked for a large clothing retailer that took stuff off of Etsy, copied it, and resold it to the masses. I can promise you that almost every single clothing company does this, so Etsy sellers, beware. If you think you see something similar to your product in a retail store, someone probably bought your product from you and knocked it off in a factory. Urban Outfitters. Ding ding ding. air traffic controller at a very busy airport in a very large city. If you would amazed/terrified if you knew how close airplanes come in and around busy airports. Here is your example. You are in plane A on a 5-mile final. 5 miles from edge of the start of the runway coming straight in. Plane B that is in front of you just landed. As plane B is rolling out, slowing down, plane C lines up at the edge of the runway waiting for plane B to exit the runway. Your plane A, is now 2 to 3 miles from the edge of the runway with plane C sitting on the same runway filled with over 100 people. Plane B exits the runway, and plane C barrels down the runway. Plane C rotates and gets airborne right as your plane crosses the edge of the runway. Rinse, repeat over and over. It's like a well-oiled machine. Student pilots are fun. Your A really grips the seat when you have to repeat instructions at critical times or you can't understand what foreign nationals are saying. It's not just a well-oiled machine. It's like a perfectly tuned watch. I work on retail, your typical cell phone case/Bluetooth shop. Probably the prices. We'll charge $35 for a case they can get on Amazon for $3, and that we pay about $1 for. My coworkers will also charge as much as they can get out, if you for each item. Then give you a ton of things free, so when you see the item in a different store you don't think you get ripped off because you got free things. I schedule for a group of surgeons, one of which is a complete hack, uses outdated methods of treatment and most of the time has little to no idea of what they're doing in the or, so they have to consult the other surgeons in our group, but they have great bedside manner. A lot, if not all, of their patients mistake that for being a great surgeon. So how does one find out the scoop, or to whom should we ask? Unfortunately this is not something you could find out easily, unless you knew someone who worked within the office that would be comfortable enough to share info. I'm obligated to not really say anything but good things about the surgeon to all new patients who have been referred by their physicians to them. Obviously, most patients wouldn't take the time to listen to the opinion of just a scheduler because they were referred by another physician. So what better do I know, right? The best way I can recommend to go about selecting any type of surgeon is to do as much research as possible and get multiple opinions. But please, seek other opinions from surgeons outside of the same group. More likely than not, those surgeons look at each other as colleagues and will tell you that they agree the first surgeon you saw and just refer you back. Unless of course they're a major A-hat and like stealing patients. I worked as a telemarketer a few months ago. Terrible job. Glad I quit. Anyways, the amount of information I had about the product I was selling was shockingly low. First I was selling plates, and I had no idea where we got the customer's information from. When I asked my boss, he said he had no idea but told me to lie. So when asked by a past customer, I had to say I got it from a non-excising marketing poll. After a few weeks I got to sell free memberships to a savings club. That was basically a way of getting telephone numbers to the insurance department. I had no idea how it worked, except that we would call them with new information. At last I got to sell electricity, the thing I was promised to sell right off the bat, and learn to give a sales pitch and answer a few frequently asked questions. Other than that I had no idea what I was talking about. I talked on and on about average use, but had no idea how much that was, etc. So the job was basically winging it all the way and hoping the customers never asked the right questions. Lying to pissed customers at minimal wage and horrible commissions is something that makes you feel like and is in no way worth the money. Worked at Jim Borton's in Canada. Customer shat on the floor next to the toilet. Had to be intentional. It wasn't even close to the toilet bowl. I was charged with cleaning it, so I mopped for like 20 minutes. So runny. So I asked my manager what I should do with the mop, cause it was mostly sh*t by now. She told me to put it in the bag and she would take care of it. I go on my break. I come back from my break to see the manager mopping the kitchen with the same exact mop. No change in mop head, no change in mop bucket. This is where all baking is done. This is where all food prep is done. And this is where all employees pass through to do everything. Now with a healthy coat of someone's diarrhea, if you haven't been trained to clean biohazardous materials, you can refuse to do the unsafe work. This includes / not limited to blood, needles, and fecal matter. that responsibility automatically goes to the manager. I haven't been asked to clean any poop when I worked at gyms, but I've been asked to clean the women's washroom a few times. Walk in, see blood, state my rights and politely refuse. You an immigrant coming from abroad. Nobody else would hire me, so I had to do as I was told. With a newborn on the way, I couldn't rock the boat. I've since left, but that was gross. It's amazing how much information bank tellers have access to, which requires no experience, and usually start at $10-15/hours. Very easy to get a teller position. Within a couple weeks of training, you'll have access to everything about the bank's customers. That is, name, SS, address, phone, account hashes, account history, etc. I work back office now, but it always scared me how much information they trust with new people. I used to work for a sunglass hut. For starters, all of our sunglasses are made by the same parent company, so the only difference between a pair of $50 Arnett's and $300 Prada lenses is the name. Furthermore, our return policy is 90 days, no questions asked. However, you can exchange a pair for up to a year. A return/exchanged pair is not checked, refurbished, or anything. We just slap a new price tag on it and sell it as new. As a cashier, how many times I mess up? Gala, Cameo, Fuji Point. Check your receipts, people. I work in an all-natural health food to-go place. A lot of our ingredients come from Cisco. Free range, grass-fed, locally sourced. Nope. And nope. I worked at a similar place. We had a handful of specialty foods that were hard to get anywhere else, like vegan milkshakes, fresh juices, and gluten-free brownies. This was over a decade ago, before gluten-free was hip. We did grass-fed turkeys around the holidays, that kind of thing. However, in order to stay afloat, the management had to fill out the menu with conventional foods and just hope no one asked about them. We had chicken sandwiches made from chickens that were definitely not raised ethically or naturally, and nothing on our salad bar was organic. The way my boss explained it, a 100% organic, natural menu would be prohibitively expensive. Made sense, but I still felt terrible selling that stuff to customers. It felt like a lab mission. This is kind of on topic, but a few months back I had a lady come into the produce department I work at asking if the apples we had came from a tree. I told her yes they did, and she asked to see the tree. When I told her that they were picked off of a tree and shipped to the store in boxes, she got upset and asked me why I lied about them coming from trees when they came in boxes, because she wanted organic apples and not lab apples. I didn't know what to say, so I just said, "Sorry, ma'am. Have a nice day," and walked away. I want to give my 2 cents in on this. Cisco is a food maker and food distributor. They are like the UPS or FedEx of the food industry. They have billions of dollars spent in logistics and equipment to deliver food to restaurants. Here's an example. Say Panda Express is opening a new location in a more remote place. Panda Express supplies Cisco with all of their products, and the restaurant orders from Cisco. Panda Express is paying for Cisco to distribute those products. Cisco sells a massive amount of different products from different vendors. Just because the truck says Cisco doesn't mean the food you get isn't local or natural. They merely delivered said goods in this situation. Teller at a large bank in the southeast. Our teller system is run on software that's almost 3 decades old. When we process your transactions, it's on a black manuscript DOS screen. This is the entire company. If the program talks back to an IBM 360 mainframe, you will be okay. Remember, when the world ends and everyone is dead, the 360 will still be running. These machines will order parts automatically if they feel something is off. Seriously, one day you could get a package from IBM with the new hard drive as the mainframe thought one of the drives was wonky. Is this for real? I really can't tell by your post. I bet it's pretty fast and stable though. I work in a cold day and the equipment here is incredibly old, some of it 40 plus years old. But damn if it doesn't work with an incredible uptime. I work for a major TV network. The amount of catering thrown at us in meetings could feed a small country. It's beyond wasteful and makes me cringe every time. In almost any field, the amount of food thrown out after meetings is shocking. Sometimes I want to pile it all up and send it to poor countries in a big box. but it would have gone bad by the time it arrives. I work in the banquet department of a high-end hotel and you wouldn't believe how much gets thrown out. I'm working with the hour department to get it donated to local shelters since we are so close to DC. I worked as a horse trainer at medieval times and the amount of abuse to the animals and staff, I'm talking about the show staff, no idea about the wenches and such, is ridiculous. Many of our Andalusian stallions had gigantic carcinomas under their tails that went untreated. Horses would get ridden in 3 shows in a row with no break in the middle of summer. I frequently saw animals bloodied from spurs, whips and bits being yanked in their mouths. The game's horses don't even have proper stalls and just have a standing area. Think cows when they are lined up to milk, and I rarely, if ever, saw one lie down. Libraries will throw out books. Yep, that's right. Books go in the trash. Oh, they might get recycled, but that costs money. Money a lot of libraries don't have, so often the books get tossed in a dumpster. Hooray weeding. I'm the weirdo who's a giant proponent of weeding. The thing people who talk about donating/giving them away don't realize is that a lot of the books are pretty much impossible to even give away. Think of old Windows 3.1 manuals. Pretty much everywhere I've worked has had some sort of giveaway/selling process. So for something to get trashed, nobody would want it. I work at a college and the amount of money spent on salary and benefits for upper level administrators is incredible, especially considering that many of their job duties overlap. Looks like I'm a little late on this thread, but oh well. I've been a consumer product manager for 15 plus years developing and importing goods from Asia. Everything from coffee makers to BBQ grills. I've been to 100 factories throughout Asia, mostly China, overseeing production and shipment from start to finish. Bottom line, I don't care what kind of job you have here in the US, you do not want to work in a Chinese factory, ever. Programmer here. We are in the pre-industrial era of software development, and even the best of us aren't very good at it. Nobody knows how to write perfect, bug-free code. Nobody. Not IBM, not Microsoft, not Google, not even Linus. Nobody. When something has to work correctly, like a fly-by-wire system for an airplane, they use multiply redundant computers, running code written by different teams. Both sets of code will have bugs, but it's super unlikely they will have the same bug, in the same place, at the same time. Do not valet your vehicle. I was a valet for a summer in college. We never stole anything. I didn't, at least, and never heard of anyone else doing it either. But the boss was super shady. We were paid in cash in envelopes every 2 weeks, and I don't think any of it was actually recorded by taxes or any other entity. We also drove pretty carefully, because any damage to a car would be directly charged to us instead of the company, like thousands of dollars deducted from, or charged to what was basically a group of 16 to 24-year-olds working part-time. Don't know how they got away with that. There was one incident where a new Cadillac was scratched up a little bit from a basic fender bender with a roller Mercury. It was a very small scratch/paint transfer, but definitely noticeable on the Caddy. The Mercury was already a little beat up. The manager on the site, it was a company that had a lot of different restaurant and bar contracts, took pictures of it and sent them to, and called the main boss. The boss just instructed us to wipe off any paint on the Caddy and not worry about the Mercury, and we would only have to deal with it as the car owner noticed it later and connected it to us. He never did. I thought that was a kind of warped way to react to it. TL. Dr. Valet. Not bad but not really good. I used to work in social media and most people don't seem to understand that the CEO of the major corporation you are tweeting at is not reading your tweets or Facebook posts. It's actually a 20-something with basically no real power other than generic form responses that we grab off of a book created by corporate. Oh, you don't like the dress code policy, turns to page 27 paragraph 2 for response. Copies and pastes. We have the ability to forward your posts to someone higher up to see if they can give you your money back, but we won't if you are a jackass to us or post something incredibly dumb. Once, I had a customer repeatedly Facebook us in increasingly threatening tones because there was a price increase of $0.01 which wasn't even our fault, but because of a tax increase in the state. Also, you should know that we are making fun of you. So much fun of you. Selection bias. Most people know full well that the CEOs and other important people don't do Twitter or whatever. However, your job is to deal with the 1% of people who are too stupid to realize that. Yeah, you are definitely right. Also, you should know that we are making fun of you. So much fun of you. Also true at the call center. Web developer. Here, the two main things I can think of are 1. The price to build a good custom website. I've heard people balk at prices that I considered to be low. Yes, you can build a website for little to no money, but they are often not very good compared to a custom built site. 2. Credit card security. While big sites like Amazon are probably pretty trustworthy, many sites are much less careful. Just because a site has an SSL, the padlock, doesn't mean it handles your information securely. I worked on a site one time where the guy who built it was storing full credit card information in clear text in a database. In fact, everything was being stored in clear text in the same database. Email addresses, passwords, CC info, billing address, all of it. I'm sure his users had no idea. Just because it's illegal doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Also, sites that ask for the CVV/CSC/CVD/ETC number may not even use it. We only have to match a couple of pieces of information, and card number and billing address are the ones I've seen used most often. One company I worked for didn't even bother submitting the CVV number to the processing company. I used to work for a few tech companies. All I can say is that if there was ever a drug test, 1/2 to 3/4 of everyone would be gone. All of the devs would be gone as well. Sales folk, oh yeah, they too would be gone. Coke is alive and well in sales. I use a sledgehammer on your car when you bring it in for repair, and I mean like all the time. It's received prime real estate on the top of my toolbox as I use it as much as any other tool. The average car owner would be in fact shocked at just how often auto techs, in the Rust Belt at least, use a hammer on their car all the time. Won't come off unless you really pound on it, and when the hammer doesn't work, or who am I kidding, the hammer always works, eventually. Sound engineer here. No band is half as good as you think they are, including live performances. A good sound guy is worth his weight in gold. Truly the unsung heroes of good live shows. Henry Rollins lists his sound man from Rollins Band as a member of the band. In an interview I saw, he said, "We only sound like we do because we have our sound man. Without him, we are a different band." Drill sergeant. I hate family members more than privates. I'm raging alcoholic, come off as homeless sometimes, and am really into kinky dirty sex. This is the majority of me, and my coworkers are the life of an ESL teacher. Everything chicken at Chick-fil-A is not pre-packaged, and in fact hand-filleted and breaded in the store. Lots of crazy in this thread thought I would throw in a positive. KFC does this as well. Raw chicken comes in, angry satisfied customers go out. I work at a Walmart Tire Lube and Express auto shop, and the amount of helping out a customer is beyond known. I know it sounds crazy, because people believe Walmart is a crap hole, but honest people work there. Many of my co-workers try to help customers save money by telling them they only need 2 tires instead of 4 or a less expensive oil change, because their car doesn't need inspection points if they don't have certain parts, i.e. transfer case or rear differential. Working in the back, a lot of customers don't see what goes on and only see the price. We also have to have a greater knowledge beyond what we can do to really help customers with their cars. We don't do major services like brakes, but we still have knowledge of it. We even sometimes recommend local family-owned auto shops if we can't do it. I work in the oil field. Half the people would be shocked to find out about the misconceptions they hear in the media and by radical environmentalists are false. The other half would be shocked by the bad things that happen out here that the media and radical environmentalists don't ever talk about. I'm a florist. It's not shocking, but it is ridiculous how expensive cut flowers are, especially considering how quickly they'll die. Oh, and getting flowers for a wedding. Mention wedding and the price goes up exponentially as opposed to just an event. So yeah, don't say it is for a wedding, especially if you are on a strict budget and have a small order. Just order a few arrangements and you'll be set. For the bouquet, say you want a wrapped arrangement, but wrapped round instead of flat. My first job was in a floral shop. The best way to keep costs down was to tell me that your bridesmaids bouquets were for a dance recital for 12-year-olds. And the biggest one, brides one, was for your daughter. You're just ordering the smaller ones so that the other girls don't feel left out. When I worked in retail, I would say that the everyday customer would be shocked to learn that I hated them by default, not because they are making me work. No, that's called having a job. But because it is so common these days for people to treat retail workers like for some reason, it seems like it has actually become socially acceptable to yell at people working in the service industry just to get your way, even when you are clearly in the wrong. Just take a trip to /r/Talis from Hotel for a taste.